Hey, welcome investors to the 40 Finance channel. My name's Jeff Beers. Today I'm going to do an update on Enphase Energy stock. This is one that I bought back in January and into February. Enphase is, right now they're a residential solar energy play. They do have some commercial concepts that are coming to the market. Enphase's biggest claim to fame is their microinverters. Which take the energy from the solar panels and it turns it into AC energy. And with their microinverter technology, instead of having one inverter power a whole slate of panels, they're actually individually attached to each solar panel, and that helps with uptime, efficiency, all those things. Now, those individual microinverters also attach to a battery storage system, and they have a whole software suite to help homeowners get a feel for how their energy is being produced, how it's being stored, efficiency ratings, and so on. So very intriguing company. I'm super excited about it. I'm in for the long term. The minimum would probably be 3 years, and it could be even longer than that. But in our update today, we're going to see that Enphase Energy has tanked a little bit here. So I'm going to walk you through what's going on with the stock, and we'll talk about what are the prospects for the future. All right, taking a look at the stock today at $165.60. We have had a decent chunk of volatility in the market over the past few days. A lot of stocks are down from their highs, particularly growth stocks, which, as we all know, had a little bit of froth to them, to say the least. So I'd love to tell you I'm surprised at this, but I'm really not. My cost basis is at $194, I believe, and I've been trying to pick off a couple shares below that during this downturn, just going in every day and buying a couple shares anytime it's under $194. If we look at some of the fundamentals, P ratio of 173.17, so not necessarily a cheap stock, but for a growth stock in today's world, that's not as bad either. You got trailing 12 months EPS of 94 cents. I can tell you that the forward EPS projection for 2021 is about $2. So if you roll that into today's price of 165, you got a forward P ratio of about 80, 82, something like that. Okay, so with Enphase, you have a stock that was recently trading for as high as $221 when Biden was sort of announced as the presidential winner. Everybody went crazy on green energy stocks, and this one reached a momentum in the 220s. Now here you have this most recent market dip, and you're at 165. So what do you do if you're an existing investor like me? Well, first you have to understand the risks of your investment, right? And we know that these green energy stocks were all running pretty hot, and they extended across many different types of green energy, EV cars, etc. So you're going to have some volatility, right? And nothing has really changed a whole bunch since Biden has taken over. It's not like he's launched a comprehensive environmental plan or anything like that, but he is picking away at things that are going to help this industry, particularly solar and wind, where he actually recently extended the residential solar tax credit. I think that was back in December. So in short, in 21 and 22, there was going to be an expiration of the 26% tax credit that came with a solar install in a residential home. That has since been extended, and it also applies to any construction project that begins during this time. So you don't have to complete your home. You got to go through some extra paperwork, but you can actually start a construction project, let's just say December 31st of 2022, and you would actually still qualify for this when the project ended. So that part is definitely good news. On the risk side, though, you are going to have competition, and you have a lot of choices as an investor. And I think that this is the different one that we don't think about all the time with green energy plays. And that is, it's not like Enphase is the only solar stock out there. Now, for me, it is, because I really believe in what they're doing on residential solar. But it doesn't have to be for everyone. There's a great ETF called TAN, T-A-N, which would give you a conglomerate of solar energy stocks. And at one point, Enphase was the number one holding in that ETF. I'm not sure if that remains the same today, but there's plenty of other solar stocks out there. I'm sort of putting my chips on this one horse that I believe has the technological innovation to really succeed over 3 to 5 years. Now, depending on your investing goals, that might not be a smart idea, right? Because we see what happens with this volatility. So if you're only in this game for a year or less, I'm not sure that I would recommend Enphase as that horse, because there's other ones that are coming in at lower valuations. Now, beyond the recent stock price dip for Enphase, they've had a ton of good news over the past 3 or 4 months, and that's what we're going to jump into right now. All right, I'm going to highlight a couple things from the Q4 report outside of financials, and that is some of the news items, including some of these acquisitions, right? We recently completed the acquisition of Sofdesk in the first quarter of 2021. They are a leading provider of design software for residential solar installers and roofing companies. We also recently signed a definitive agreement to acquire the solar design services business of DIN Engineering Services. The business provides proposal drawings and permit plans to installers with rapid turnaround and high precision. These acquisitions are expected to enhance the capabilities of our digital platform, enabling our installers to simplify the sales process and improve the buying experience for homeowners. All right, and I just want to pause on those 2 acquisitions for a second. While those companies don't have like huge attractive names to most people, the key in the puzzle of where they fit into Enphase is they make the digitization of buying residential solar, as well as planning the components on the exact specifications of your house and submitting permits for approval, all those things that installers, distributors, and homeowners have to think about before the solar roof actually goes on their home. That's why Enphase bought this stuff, okay? They're trying to streamline the buying process. They want it to be headache-free. And quite frankly, I'm 100% aligned with the concept. They're trying to give tools to the people who are ultimately out selling these solar systems for Enphase. Don't forget, unlike, the grocery store where it's just an individual person who looks at, whatever boxes of stuff they want and pick one, with solar, you're actually going to call a company that specializes in solar installs in your area. And then you have to go through all the different components and decide what is the best match for your house. With Enphase empowering their distributors and installers with apps and platforms to make the job easier, they're going to start to help themselves become a default suggestion for a lot of these sales folks. All right, the other thing you're going to see if you follow Enphase, all companies do these press releases, right? And I know half of them are kind of boring and dumb. But what you're going to see here, for example, on February 3rd, Enphase Energy and Momentum Solar expand partnership to include battery storage. Now, you're also going to see the same type of press release down here with Sonova and Solar Optimum. All right, let's take a look at the Momentum press release, and I'm going to tell you why this stuff is important. So Momentum Solar by itself is not a huge company, right? But what you're seeing in these press releases is Momentum Solar and other local installers and distributors becoming direct partners with Enphase, and now actually including their battery storage systems in that partnership. So down here today, we announced that Momentum Solar, a top US residential solar contractor and an Inc. 500 fastest growing private company, will now promote and install Enphase storage systems in addition to Enphase solar systems as their all-in-one home energy management solution to homeowners. Momentum Solar currently serves customers throughout the U.S. with operations in Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, California, and Nevada. All right, so again, not front page news here, but it's very big if you're into Enphase stock and you're bullish for the future. For every momentum solar that's out there, and guys, there's hundreds of them, right? Places like Texas, Florida, where there's a lot of sun, they're going to have a ton of these shops that are distributors and actually sell to the core residential customer. What Enphase is basically doing is they're building a relationship with these distributors and sellers, trying to become the preferred platform for each of them. So when the salesmen actually go to the home of the consumer, right, the residential homeowner, they're there to say, listen, here's how solar works. Here's what you're going to need on your roof, 17 panels, whatever the jig is with it. And then they're going to go through all the options to buy. And they're going to be listing Enphase first for a myriad of reasons, but most notably because Enphase has developed this partnership where they're training sales folks on how things work with the battery storage and the software, and they're helping their installers with those acquisitions we talked about 2 minutes ago. So they're building a great distribution partnership with all these companies, and I, for one, am very excited about it. Now, it's going to take time. That press release menu, I think there was 3 companies in total that were on there. And what 3 companies tell me for those press releases is that they're starting to get a system, right? They're starting to understand, like, what are the pain points of the installers, the distributors, etc. How can we make their life better? Signing on 3 of those companies since Jan 1 shows to me that the conversion is getting a lot better as they hit the road and pitch these guys. All right, another interesting article that's come out recently on Motley Fool is this Better Buy Solar Edge Technologies versus Enphase. And the short version is, Enphase is catching up fast in the market. 5 years back, both Solar Edge and Enphase were earning roughly the same revenue. Solar Edge then expanded rapidly, far exceeding Enphase. In comparison, Enphase Energy found itself struggling to grow its top and bottom lines. In fact, the company faced a cash crunch in 2016, but Enphase then turned itself around and came back in a big way. This is quarterly revenue. You see how they're catching up. Net income, same story. In fact, they have surpassed Solar Edge Technologies. And then gross profit, which of course is key to any business operation, you have them lapping Solar Edge back in 2019. Scrolling down a little bit further, in the last 2 years, Enphase has beaten Solar Edge in terms of revenue growth. What's more, it's generating higher gross margins as well. So this is the same chart except only 2 years, so kind of like recent history, if you will. And you can see how that's going for Enphase, the purple lines, all trending in a positive direction. And last comment here, Enphase Energy stock may not be as overvalued as it looks. Due to recent rises, both Solar Edge and Enphase are stocks trading at valuation multiples much higher than the broader market. Moreover, Enphase multiples are much higher than those of Solar Edge. Scrolling down, that may make Enphase Energy look far more overvalued. However, considering that it's growing at a faster pace, the premium valuation may be justified. To account for Enphase higher growth, it would be better to compare the stock's PEG ratios. So price to earnings growth ratio, you want to have a lower ratio for a better signal, and that's what we're seeing here with Enphase to kick off 2021. All right, taking a look at the TipRanks dashboard to see what are the best performing analysts saying about Enphase. We always sort by 4- and 5-star analysts, and we always sort by the latest available data. If you're interested in TipRanks, my affiliate link is in the description. And what we see here, 13 days ago, all the analysts came back in after earnings to update their projections. And you have mostly buys with targets in and around, I'll call it the 230 to 260 mark. But you also have a couple holds at right around 175. There's a 167. So for those that we're calling the hold, they're pretty much right on that price right now. And going back to Yahoo, as far as EPS earnings estimates, as I mentioned in the beginning, you have an average estimate of 211 for this fiscal year. So that puts you right about a forward PE of 82, 83, something like that. And then next year in 22, you're looking at 271. Now that's a long way away. And if a company's growing like Enphase does, these typically trend upwards, assuming that the news continues to be good, which I believe it will, as we've seen the tax credit extended and all those things. But if it did land at 271 at today's price of 165, that would be a PE of 60 for the close of the year 2022. All right, so my take on Enphase right now after this dip down to 165, I'm not selling. And I think I've told you guys that before. I really do believe that this company over 3 to 5 years has a lot of momentum. And I think that they can make some big noise in the solar game. And I don't think they're done innovating either. So when you think about the price today on a growth stock like this, it's easy to look and say, hey, you know, here's what they're selling today. Here's how much customers they have. You know, if the price of the stock was this, then the PE would come down. But with a company like this, you just have to make the assumption that more innovation is going to happen. And we know that solar energy is far from perfect right now. And we know that it is still a little bit expensive for the average Joe to invest in. What Enphase is doing, along with others, is improving the whole process across the board. And it's only going to take a couple of small tweaks to the formula over 21, 22, 23 to bring the cost of these units down and provide the homeowner with a better experience. Another thing I'll add that I didn't illustrate here, but I encourage you to do if you're interested in Enphase, and that is go online and search Enphase reviews. Or just look for like solar energy reviews or something like that, wherever you feel comfortable, and specifically look for the reviews of Enphase. I've only read positive ones, right? Outside of the guy who's mad because his installer said he was coming on Monday and he came on freaking Tuesday or something. Outside of those kinds of cases, I've read nothing but positive things about Enphase products to date. So that is something that I always do when I'm investing in a stock, is look at that. I don't have a residential solar system, so I'm at the mercy of getting my research from the internet. And I encourage you to do that for every stock you own as well. All right, guys, so that's my update on Enphase Energy. I'm sticking with it. I think 165 is a great deal if you haven't been in this one already. As always, make sure that you're prepared to hold 3 to 5 years. The solar game is a longer play. Maybe you get lucky and you see a dip under 165, 150 maybe if you get really lucky, but don't buy it because you think it's going to go up in 90 days back up to $200. You might be disappointed there. Get in Enphase as a technological leader in residential solar, read about it, get comfortable with it, and then put it off to a corner in your portfolio, and we'll see what happens over the next few years. On the bright side, they've already got an EPS, right? They're already making profits. So this isn't some paper company, you know, based off an invisible report of what might happen. This is happening now. And while a stock is expensive compared to normal fundamentals, if they continue to achieve great things, it will look cheap over the next couple years. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this look at Enphase Energy. Please give me a like and subscribe if you did. We'll see you on the next video.